Welcome. It's the only political podcast made by an idiot about idiots. I'm very happy with the way that things are going so far. I've already gotten 60 of you to subscribe over on YouTube, which is crazy. I can't believe that many people actually want to listen to my hot takes. It's insane. So thank you if you've subscribed over there. If you want to see everything, all uncensored, everything that we want to say, go over to podcastergay.com because this week's going to get a little bit weird. I'm talking about the thing that everybody is talking about. It's the only thing that anybody cares about. It's the email about a blowjob. I went through the emails. I was reading it. God damn it if it's boring. Most of the shit doesn't make any sense. I was reading the emails. I didn't understand most of it. I had to look up some words. I had to learn some Yiddish, apparently, because very Jewy Epstein family uses Yiddish in their emails. It seems crazy, but none of it matters. It seems like none of it. They're very silly, dumb emails that seem to go nowhere. They're making dumb puns like calling Donald Trump Donnie T. I don't understand because they're making references to the movie Get Hard, which is crazy. But the only thing that seems to matter in the emails is this one line in the email right about here. Ask him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. Now, who is Bubba? That's the only thing anybody cares about. Who is Bubba? I want to know who Bubba is. We all want to know who Bubba is. Is he the founder of Bubba Gump Shrimp? Is he from Forrest Gump? Is he? I looked far and wide on the internet, and all the speculation seems to be only one person, and it is Bill Clinton. William Clinton. The man, the myth, the legend, the guy who's getting blown every which way from Sunday from every single person on the universe. Bill Clinton. Now, I wanted to make sure this is true because it sounds like, let me run you through the story. The email comes out. Epstein's brother sends an email to somebody who is redacted. I don't know who this person is. That person seems to be redacted from all of the emails, which seems odd. Why does it matter who he was sending a message to? I'm very tired of this redacted nonsense. We need to, when we're dealing with pedophiles and shit of this nature, why not just unredact the whole thing? Give us it uncensored, unfiltered, no condom. Let's just rip this shit off and see exactly who's saying what to who. Because we're joking about, well, this is just gay sex. So I don't understand what this matters. Like, just because you don't want to give Donald Trump the credit for being the first gay president, I don't know, because this is very weird. This is very strange. And I want to know who is saying what to who. But still, very redacted. They go over all of this stuff, and they mention Bubba. Now I go and look through everything that's on the internet, and the only way that I can do that is ask Grok. Grok's the only AI you can trust because he'll say racist things sometimes. So he obviously is based and red-pilled, and he's going to tell you the way that it is. Now I would assume that Grok would have a little bit of a right-leaning perspective on things. So when I went through it, I asked it to give percentages, high odds, and give me the top 3 candidates for who could be Bubba. Thank you. Yes, I do the due diligence. I am the expert retard in all of this stuff. Believe me, I think politics are gay. But I'm so gay for politics. I don't know how I can explain this to people because people seem to think like some people like sports, some people like sitcoms, some people just like to do meth and fentanyl in a park and slump over all day. My fentanyl is politics. I love it so much. It's such stupid nonsense, and it gets into weird facets about who sucked off who and who bribed who and who's making money off of pharmaceutical companies that'll probably end up killing us all. I'm fascinated by it. And everybody else who's not fascinated by it, it's just so dumb. you should really be invested in this. It kind of affects the everyday life. Sometimes people go like, why does politics have to get into everything? Why are there the gay people in my Disney movie? And it's because politics is everything. That's what the entirety of the whole thing. If we broke down society tomorrow and came back and we had to build it up from scratch, what we would do is make superficial, very small surface level politics again. We would have a guy who's kind of in charge of things, if it's a king, whatever it may be, and he would probably suck off Bill Clinton. That's the way the world works. We're just trying to figure out who's sucking off who. So, the rundown from what I've gotten through Grok, and the only AI you can trust, is that it's given me the top 3 people that that it could be. Now, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, through this email, came out and immediately did an interview with CNN and said it's absolutely not Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is not the person that's in the email. He's not Bubba. Now I know what you're thinking. That's his nickname. Bill Clinton has been known as Bubba since the 90s, maybe before that. When he grew up in Arkansas, his name was Bubba. That's what everybody called him. Now I know what you're thinking. Trump and Bill Clinton used to hang out a lot in the 2000s and the 90s, and they were definitely into some weird shit. And I know what you're thinking. Bill Clinton did take like 26 trips on Epstein's plane to Epstein Island, and now there's some connection between Donald Trump and Epstein. So it seems like Bill Clinton is probably Bubba, and that means that Donald Trump sucked off Bill Clinton. But no, absolutely not. What he claims is he's not a public figure. He's some private, the equivalent of, I dated somebody up north, she goes to a different school, you don't know her. That's the equivalent excuse that he gave. He didn't say, like, who that is. They should have trotted out some flamboyant homosexuals that, absolutely, Donald Trump's... I don't know if anybody remembers this, but there was this guy who went around and said that Obama, or he sucked off Obama regularly. That was his thing. He was like a gay prostitute who would just show up at Obama's and he'd be like, can you suck my penis? That was terrible. That was god-awful. Jesus. I should be punished. If anybody's still listening after that terrible Obama impression. But that's what was going on. He was getting sucked off by a prostitute, according to some meth-addicted prostitute. And I tend to believe meth-addicted prostitutes. This is what you need to understand. The crazy guy who's staring at the sky and screaming about how the birds aren't real is right. He's always right. He's always been right, and it just takes a long time to figure it out. It's the way of the world, is that the craziest people are the ones that seem to know things, and they sound crazy, so no one believes them. So it's, if I was knowing all the secrets of the world, if I was in the Illuminati, I would just whisper truths into a fentanyl addict's ear, just like, well, he's nodding off in a McDonald's parking lot. I would just be like, hey, do you know that Bill Clinton got sucked up by Donald Trump? He'd be like, blah, and he would scream it in the McDonald's parking lot, and no one would believe him. And that would make it less true when it comes out. It'd be like, man, fucking crazy meth heads have been saying this since the 90s. So here's what Grok says is the third place candidate for the who Bubba is. Bubba is not a public figure. He's some low-key New York real estate guy who nobody really knows. He was friends of the family of the Epsteins. He's an Epstein associate that nobody knows. He goes to a different school. You wouldn't know her. That's what it is. Then we go to number 2. Number 2 seems to be somebody by the name of C.R. Bubba Salisbury Jr. I don't know if he is the owner of Salisbury Steak. Is that how that seems to be how he got his claim to fame? I don't know who that guy is, but his dad is Dick Salisbury. That's this fella right here. He's an oil baron, gas magnate. He made a bunch of money in oil. So I'm assuming he's connected somehow to the Cheneys, to Halliburton, to BlackRock. I don't know. but he made a bunch of money in oil and gas. He's basically our Saudi Arabian prince. That's Dick Salisbury. Now, his son, Bubba Salisbury, may have been the guy who was sucked off by Trump. Now, it could be, possibly. I don't exactly know. But when I asked it to give probability, it said the unnamed associate, that the guy who goes to a different school that was getting sucked off. Imagine how crazy that'd be in an inner circle. You're just some unknown figure, and you're just telling people, yeah, dude, get sucked off by the president. That's like, I didn't have to suck his dick. That's usually how things go. Obama getting sucked off by a prostitute. Bill Clinton getting sucked off by his secretary. Trump being sucked off by Dick Cheney. I don't exactly know how this happened, but Donald Trump it's the other way around this time. Very interesting. But the probability of that guy being Bubba, 15%. Now, that's not a lot. It's not a lot. I don't know what that is, but there is some context in the email where he says Tsuris. I don't know how to say it. Tsuris. It's a Yiddish word, and apparently that's an inside joke in the Epstein family that they say that it means like to have a problem or to have some sort of issue going on, and that's some sort of thing that they would do. And that kind of leads people to believe that it could be somebody related to the inner circle of Epstein, that they were making jokes like that. Now, Bubba, he hung out with Trump. He's an heir to the oil baron, the Dick Salisbury. He made a ton of money off of his dad's money. He has like an exotic animal ranch, and somehow Trump and him have crossed paths along the ways, and he's one of the GOP's biggest donors. He's donated a lot of money. Now, I don't know if donating enough money, will just get Donald Trump to suck your dick. It's highly unlikely to me. Now, 15% for the first person. Now, Bubba Salisbury, 25%. Now, Now, if I can't have an explosion after a point, then is it even a point that I've made? Now, Dick Salisbury, Bubba Salisbury, that's not very good odds. 25%. If I was betting on who Bubba was, I probably wouldn't take the 15. I probably wouldn't take the 25. Now, coming to number one, the number one candidate for who is Bubba, Bill Clinton. It's Bill Clinton. 60% matched. They grew up together, or they partied together in the 90s. They hung out a ton. There's a bunch of pictures of them together. Bill Clinton is known as Bubba to his friends. It's him. I didn't want to believe it's him because the immediate thing that came out afterwards, where Epstein's brother just goes, "No, it's not. It's not him. I'm telling you. I apologize to Bill Clinton. I told him that I'm so sorry that this came down on you. I know it's not you, and I'm telling everyone it's not you." Who the fuck wants to get killed by the Clintons? Now, if I accidentally exposed that one president sucked an ex-president's penis, and he doesn't want anyone to know that, and they're known for having people disappear, probably his brother was probably killed by the same family you're exposing for being gay, I would also backtrack. I would also go, guys, it was a guy that you don't know him. He loved getting his dick sucked. That's the one thing you know about this unnamed family associate. He absolutely just a warm mouth on any given Tuesday. He's just putting it in there. That's the guy, not Bubba Clinton, the guy that's known as Bubba and lied about having sex in the Oval Office, stuck a cigar in a lady's pussy, and then just continued on being the president for a while. Honestly, you get my vote. You get, like, he seems like if he just came out as this guy who's just like, yeah, no, I got a sex addiction. That's just what I do. And I have Hillary Clinton. You know, when a lady cuts her hair like that the husband is just disappointed at home. That's just a fact. Hillary Clinton might have been the lady who originated the Karen haircut. She is not sucking dick. Let's be very clear about this. And the fact that Donald Trump came out during the election, I believe this was in the Clinton-Trump election cycle, he was just like, apologize if this is going to go really badly. I know that Hillary couldn't satisfy her man at home. He said something along those lines during the election because he had to get his dick sucked by not only Monica Lewinsky, also him. He probably had to bite his tongue to say, like, I give the best blowjobs. Oh, if we're going just on blowjobs, I should be president. If we're running a candidate that sucks the best dick, it's me. But he couldn't do that because his base wouldn't vote for him. But now, America got its first gay, at least bisexual. They're in the part of the 2SLGBTQAI plus community. And they don't want to accept that. I think both sides are furious about this because somebody on the left has to admit that Donald Trump is their first gay president, and everyone on the right has to go, these fucking homos are in the office. They've invaded everywhere. Now, I don't know what that matters. Honestly, he should just come out and say it because, like, to be fair, Melania is probably just a paid actor. That's just a very expensive foreign beard that he imported over to the country, because I don't believe, even if he's not a gay man, I don't believe those two have been having sex forever. I don't know if they've ever had sex. Now, if this is true, I don't know what it proves. I don't know what the big deal is, but it is a great distraction technique for everything that's going on with the government right now, with the government shutdown, with the trillions and trillions of dollars of debt that this has caused, with airlines struggling to function because they're working on back pay for all their employees. Every federal cog that's been unchurned for the last month is just being like, nobody gives a shit because there's another dick-sucking scandal in the Oval Office, and that's fucking amazing. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. I love, like, the this drama, this like, I don't know, it's like a Lifetime movie. It's like watching an episode of the Kardashians. That's whoever likes the Kardashians and doesn't love politics, you're just not looking at it right. This is all the same stuff. It's just drama and backstabbing and who's sucking who. Now, I don't know if this changes anybody's opinion on it, because I really didn't want to believe this, because Epstein's brother said it's not in any way Bill Clinton. It's absolutely not Bill Clinton. Now, if you're in the camp that wants to believe that it's not Bill Clinton, couldn't be Bill Clinton, I'm going to present to you Exhibit Q, because there's been so many goddamn exhibits so far. We're X to the Z exhibited. Epstein commissioned a painting of Bill Clinton in Monica Lewinsky's dress. Now, you would think that that's just a funny meme of, like, you know, haha, you came on a lady's dress and she kept it and that's what got you caught. Haha, funny. But if you read the subtext of this picture, which is an actual picture that was hung in Epstein's mansion, this kind of, it almost shows you that, like, he has something on you. Like, this is like being like, I know what you did, and I'm putting it out there. I'm showing you that I have this, and I don't know if you want to admit it, because that would take the power away from me, but it's also going to make you look really bad. But this is a subtle way of saying, I know, I have you, you're in my pocket, because this is just so clear. It's so absolutely clear that is an absolute fact, that at the very least, Epstein has some very, very incriminating evidence on you, because the only thing that got Bill Clinton caught during the whole getting sucked off in the Oval Office scandal was that Monica Lewinsky kept the dress and it had some semen on it. And that became the nail in the coffin for everything. So I think that what this picture means is that Epstein also has some sort of evidence that could absolutely destroy Bill Clinton. It might not be that he was sucked off by the president. It could be way worse than that. But at the very least, this isn't just a funny haha to you got kicked out of the Oval Office because you were doing some deranged sexual stuff. That's definitely not it. It's something more than that. It's Bill Clinton dressed as a lady in the dress that got him caught, that for weird, creepy sex stuff. So there's definitely some more creepy, weird sex stuff. That's for a fact. And if that's not enough to make you believe that that means something, this is also an image that he had he had this commission. This is George Bush with paper planes and 2 Jenga towers smashed to the ground in the Oval Office. The case for Jeffrey Epstein being a Mossad agent has never been more clear, in my opinion. He probably is part of some Israeli intelligence department, because he has the information, at least trained by somebody who is just known to get intel and be able to hold it over your head, because he's not only probably a Mossad agent, he's probably the funniest Mossad agent out there, because he's getting Bush did 9/11 memes commissioned by an artist and then hung up in his mansion, and then also having a cum-covered dress Bill Clinton in his office. That's hilarious to me, and just goes to the point that 100% Donald Trump sucked off Bill Clinton. Thank you. I've done the research. I am also an idiot. But just so you know, the people running the show are also fucking idiots. That's why this is Politiocracy. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Yes, I know. This is not the political context that you deserve. This is just what we're getting. I know you could absolutely just ignore this, throw this away. It means nothing. At the end of the day, it literally means nothing. But it is such a juicy, fun scandal that I can't even avoid talking about it. It's an annoying, like hack bit at this point. It's only been days since this has all been out, but at this point, it's already hacked that everybody's talking about this. Now, I am just a forever contrarian. I wanted to believe that that's not true, not for anybody's sake, just because I'm just like, no. There's no way. Everybody's just likes to hype this up. But when you go down the rabbit hole, when you see how far this goes, you go, no, something happened. There's something going on. Donald Trump was supposed to be the QAnon underground pedophile hunter from the first election cycle that he was in. There was crazy QAnon conspiracies that he was hunting pedophiles. Maybe, just maybe, he got so deep and so undercover. He's like an FBI agent that got hooked on cocaine because he couldn't stop. He had to do it to prove that he wasn't a Fed, and then all of a sudden he just went too deep, and then he was hiring hookers and doing blow every weekend, and he couldn't stop, and he loved the lifestyle, and he just went so deep. So maybe Donald Trump was going undercover to try and figure out what was going on Pedophile Island, and then he's like, well, I got to do a little coke to prove that I'm not a Fed, that I'm not undercover. Well, what do you do to prove that? You chug cock. That's what you do. You chug a little bit of dick, and then they're going to believe you forever. And then little did he know he was going to run for president, and then that guy had some pictures, apparently. And now one of the biggest superpowers on earth may have a photograph of Donald Trump sucking a penis. And that's hilarious to me. That's unbelievably funny. Now, there's this goes all the way in every single government. It seems to be the case that somebody is doing gay stuff, doing sex stuff, doing something with somebody. I know even here, there's a guy who claims that he was just on duty to follow Justin Trudeau around and have gay sex with him. That is probably true, because there is no more homosexual man than a guy who starts dating Katy Perry. That's just a fact. Russell Brand, gay. Orlando Bloom, gay. Justin Trudeau, gay. So draw your own conclusions. But I just can't get enough of this photograph. I've looked this over. I want one. I want this. I'm gonna get this commissioned for myself. If there's an artist out there who wants to paint this for me so I can put it on my wall, I love it. It's hilarious. So I don't know. I think I've said all that I can say about that, but I think the moral of the story is there's even AI thinks that there's a more than likely possibility that Bill Clinton is Bubba. So unless proven otherwise, unless this photo comes out and that's very clearly not Bill Clinton's dick in Donald Trump's mouth, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it sounds like Donald Trump blew somebody. So that's unbelievably funny. But let's keep in the same vein. Staying in the pedophile world, as somebody with my mustache likes to do. The Premier of Ontario in Canada came out, and this pisses me off. I've had some fun with fellatio in the Oval Office and on Epstein Island, but this actually makes me so unbelievably mad. So there was a ruling by the Supreme Court of Canada saying that the minimum mandatory sentence, so the lowest sentence that you can get for distributing child pornography, is 1 year. And that's fucking disgusting. I don't know how anybody can say the minimum. Like, so if for whatever reason you have a really good lawyer, you got Johnny Cochran on your team, you dug him from the grave, you pet cemetery Johnny Cochran and brought him back, and you said, if the condom doesn't fit. No, I'm not even going to try. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. But what happens is you get 1 year for distributing child pornography. That's insane. I don't know who thinks that's a good idea. Who voted on that? What made that happen? But the Premier of Ontario came out and spoke out against it. And in my opinion, he's saying the truth that everybody wants to hear. So I don't know if he's trying to make a run for the Prime Minister, but god damn it, this was one of my platforms when I jokingly said that I was going to become the govtator of Canada. Just so you know, that's part governor, part dictator. It's the hybrid model of some places I'll be a governor, some places I'll be a dictator. But this is what he said.
Sex offenders that push child pornography out should not get a mandatory 1 year sentence. Like, what is the Supreme Court thinking? Who are you in favor with? A bunch of diddlers that are out there pushing child porn and hanging out in neighborhoods and trying to track down young children? Or do you protect the victims? And unfortunately, the Supreme Court has chose to protect these nasty criminals, and just they make me sick. I'd throw these child pornography people, I'd throw them in jail, throw away the key, they can rot in there.
Damn right. You got my vote. I don't care what you did. First, you get rid of the speed cameras. Beautiful. Absolutely amazing. Then you say that you're going to lock away the diddlers and throw away the key. That's amazing. There's nothing more that I want, because my policy as govtator of Canada, what I said I would do is I would immediately bring back the death penalty, which has been gone for 20, 30 years at this point. I would bring back the death penalty. Anybody who's caught doing sexual abuse to a child, immediately put to the front of the line. We're probably going to have a long line, and it's mostly going to be government officials, apparently, which is insane. So we're going to just have to redo the government from the ground up and find people who haven't touched a kid. And we're going to burn them to death. We're going to cremate them, and we're going to use their crispy remains to fill the potholes of the streets. Everyone's happier. You get to commute to work, and then you get to know that your kids aren't going to be molested in a park somewhere. Because the second that they do, we need to take a Saudi Arabian approach to this. We cut their cocks off and we throw them in a lake. There can't be a system that allows people that distribute child porn, that are creating child porn, that are just abusing children, and just let them out in a year. That's insane. That doesn't make any sense to me, where anybody thinks that that's okay. The only reason that you would think that's okay is because maybe you or a friend of yours in the government is influencing you. Maybe there's a couple of people that you know that if we look through their phones, you would find a little bit more than some weird dick pictures, or some shady business dealings. You're gonna find some very, very large zip files of things that they shouldn't have on their phone. Now, I think this is a great start. Now, this is exactly what we should be doing as government. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. If you voted for that, you're scum. You're disgusting. I look weird on you. Now, that brings me to this fellow right here. This fellow is a guy from BC, horrible looking individual. Now, he was sentenced because he possessed more than 6,000 hours of videos of child pornography. Now, he got 2 years less a day and 3 years of probation. What the absolute fuck? So the minimum is a year. So then a guy who did a lot, he said there's 60,000 unique images and 6,000 hours of video. Different, not just like he's like me, where you try to download a file and you just keep downloading it 13 times, and then all of a sudden you look on your phone, you're like, holy shit, I got so many. No, it's not that he just kept downloading the same child porn over and over and over again. He has 60,000, a Jared Fogle from Subway amount of child porn. He had to buy an external hard drive to keep this on because it was bogging down his computer. He had to... It's crazy the amount of stuff that this guy had on his phone. And to remember, he looks like this. So sometimes we need to have a hiatus on judging a book by its cover. I think we should go back to that for a while. The cover is one of the most important things. It's basically the thumbnail of the book. What makes you click on a YouTube video? The thumbnail. What, we don't judge a video by its thumbnail? That's stupid. We got to start judging. I'm going to change the thing. You judge a video by its thumbnail, and this guy's thumbnail screams child porn. So I would just, I would be iffy around this. If this guy was my neighbor, I wouldn't let my kids run around in the backyard. I would say, hey, no shirtless jumping on the trampoline for you guys. That's not right. Because me as a kid, butt naked in the backyard. That's what I don't know about anybody else out there. That was kind of just a thing that kids did. I would rip off my diaper and I would run into the backyard. We had a decent sized backyard, so I don't know if Mr. William here. Wow, dude, 2 bills in one thing. That's crazy. I'm gonna just say we need to also stop naming our kid Bill. If you're named William or Bill, I also think that you're getting sucked off by the president, or you have 60,000 images of child porn on your phone. It's a bad name at this point. So I would run around naked all the time. And if I knew that this guy that looked exactly like that was one of my neighbors, you couldn't let your kid run butt naked, because he's gonna be, whoa, am I having a stroke? Holy shit, I'm freaking out, man. What's happening? Why am I shaking? What is that? It looks like I'm so mad. I'm so mad right now that everything's freaking out. So, yeah, there's an interesting thing going around the internet now where there's what is this? Why am I doing this? Has this been happening the whole time? Jesus Christ. Please stop it. But Yeah, basically, what we need to do is we need to start looking at these people and looking at the severity of their crimes, how much they've been dealing with, and how 60,000 images got onto their phone and where they came from. We need to start locking them up and throwing away the key. Exactly. We need to get the diddlers behind bars, and we need to stop them in their tracks. If we just do this for a few years, eventually it's all gonna go away. What is exactly is it zooming in on? All right, chill, camera. Hey, I think I'm being hacked by the government. I've pissed off too many pedophiles in Parliament. The parliamentary pedophiles. I've pissed them off, and now my camera's freaking out like it's a 90s action movie. I don't know. That's fucking weird. Let's see if I can fix this really quick. On the fly video editing. See if I can fix that. Hey, there we go. Much better. All right. So, this is where it starts to piss me off. This is exactly the problem with the Canadian government. 1 year minimum mandatory for distributing child pornography, for containing child pornography. That's crazy. That is very, very low. Now, I've brought this up on other podcasts before. I've spoke out adamantly about this. I think this is the most bullshit thing that is going through the government as we speak. This is being voted on very shortly. By the end of the year, this will be voted on. It's Canada's Bill C9. This is the full bill right here. I've gone through and I've highlighted the part that really, really matters. This is the act to amend the criminal code. Hate propaganda, hate crimes, and access to religious or cultural places. Really jammed a lot into one thing. So this is hate crimes, and cultural and religious places of worship. So if you block a Muslim from going into a mosque, or if you make a funny Hitler joke, basically all in the same bill. So I think it's interesting because we could all agree that you shouldn't block somebody from their place of worship. I don't care if you're in the synagogue of Satanism, or if you believe in a spaghetti monster that lives in the sky, or you want to go to a church, or whatever you want to do. You should have full access to your places of worship. That's gross to throw that in this disgusting bill that essentially will make memes that could be considered hateful a crime. So this is not just somebody who spray paints a swastika on the side of a Jewish school. This is everything from and passing around anything that has a hate symbol on it, making hateful remarks, and then also hate crimes, anything that could be classified as that. I don't like giving the government that power to figure out what is what and who did what, because that is disgusting. But when you go through this, this is the part that really matters. The criminal code, it outlines willful promotion of hatred, terrorism, or hate symbols. Everyone who commits an offense who willfully promotes hatred against an identifiable group displaying in any public place a symbol that is principally used or principally associated with a listed entity and defined as a subsection, whatever, a swastika, a Nazi double sig rune, which I'm not even racist enough to know that. I love racial jokes. I don't even know what a Nazi double sing rune is. No idea. And technically, if I look it up, I could be in falling under this because I'm spreading that symbol. That's crazy. And then the SS bolts. I know what the SS bolts are. That's just an SS symbol. Or a symbol that so nearly resembles a symbol described in paragraph A or B. So a kind of swastika. If I do a swastika, but I turn one of the elbows the wrong way, still, because it can be likely confused as a swastika, that means that I'm also promoting hate. And then this is the part that really pisses me off. Everyone who commits an offense under subsection 2.2, which is what I just read, is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. So in theory, you could send a picture of a swastika to somebody and they take such offense to it that you get 2 years in prison. But if I do the exact same thing and it's child pornography, I would get, in theory, could get 1 singular year in prison. Ugh. I'm so unbelievably mad by that, because that just shows you where the world is at, where it's like a symbol or a word or something that could be considered hateful, but because you know what, some people's hate is another person's joke. That's what I've always said. It doesn't matter what words or pictures somebody shows unless they're of underage naked children. That should be the benchmark that we're all going for here, is that if I send you a swastika, it should never be more of a crime than if I send you a child's penis. What kind of world are we living in where that could even be in question? If I was starting society from anew, I would say, yeah, maybe there's some sort of argument for giving somebody some sort of punishment for inciting hate through a symbol. Maybe you could argue that. But in no way, shape, or form should it ever even be possible for a person to get less prison time for distributing or owning child pornography than a funny haha meme that offends somebody. It's insane. I don't care if that person is literally a neo-Nazi and he's sending pictures of like pro-Hitler propaganda and pro swastikas. He's tattooing a Edward Norton tattoo on his chest, and he's taking pictures of it and distributing it to the public. That should never, in any way, shape, or form, even be close to the punishment of a person who's even just had any child porn on their phone for a second. What a world are we living in? This makes no sense. I hate it. I hate it so much. Why can't everybody just be like me and just be into old ladies? It's so much nicer. I've been into MILFs since I was like 13. I just want to, I kind of want to see some stretch marks and a wrinkly lady. To me, that's so much better that I think the punishment for looking at like barely legal porn where the girl has braces and pigtails should be higher than this Bill C9. It makes no sense. It makes me unbelievably upset, and I don't even know what I can say, because if I say the word child porn on a public platform, I'm censored. But I'm talking about, we're talking about it, that it's disgusting and it should be completely disowned. Anybody that's like, nah, fucking 16's not that bad. It's like, I get it. It's a crazy take, but the guy that I just showed you, he had pictures of infants on his phone or whatever device he was storing this on. Infants. These are not just 16-year-olds where they're just like, oh, well, she looks old for her age. That's insane that this guy got 2 years less a day and 3 years of probation. He's out in less than, and the way that our prison system works is he'll probably be out in like a year and a half, maybe less than that, for the crime of taking the innocence away from a child. And if somebody wants to display a swastika, it's a fucking symbol. It's insane. I get it. The people that it's the same argument that people use for the N-word, where it's like that word was used to hurt people, and now it could bother somebody if you do. The only way that we can get over that is if you just let all the people say it. Let every fucking person. I would rather a person hang a swastika flag from the front of their house so I know not to go trick-or-treating there. I'm not going to send my kids to that house. I would rather I would rather everybody just have a swastika on their face if they truly believe in Nazi ideology. We should know. Let them have a fucking SS armband on, because I know that I don't want to associate with that person. That person he'll be shunned by a lot of society. That's super simple. The only way to combat dark is with shining a light on it. So we need to just let people do what they're going to do, because a symbol doesn't hurt anybody. The ideology, well, Jesus, I said too many words at once. The ideology behind it can hurt people. But I don't think nobody's ever been like, I saw this swastika and I was like, dude, that's a really cool symbol. I really like that. I might just like get into Nazism. I was like, dude, that was kind of badass. I'm gonna spray paint one on my car, and I'm gonna join a Nazi club because like I really liked it. It's not the same as like the Supreme logo, where like I really like that. I'm gonna go buy some. It's not the same fucking thing. It's insane that people think this way. I hate it. I don't know what to do about it, but it absolutely makes me upset. It makes me unbelievably upset that you potentially in Canada get more time for drawing an SS symbol, which I don't know if anybody else was born in the 90s. Making a funny S symbol was kind of part of our culture. So it's like, if you do it a little wrong, if you just did it a little bit more slanty, straight to jail, 2 years, and the guy, your bunkmate, your cellmate, he distributed child porn, and he's gonna be out in less time than you. Let's just make that fucking clear. It's disgusting. I hate it. I'm absolutely disgusted. So I will move on. Thank you. I only give amazingly correct takes. So, Canada clearly has fallen as a society, and it's pretty clear why. We've just given up on paying a deficit. Our budget is approved this year. I just saw this article the other day. It was just approved 2 days ago. 170 to 168. So it was so unbelievably close. At least one conservative held his vote. He abstained from voting. A couple of the NDP and Green Party people switched their vote at the very last minute. They were either going to abstain or vote against it, and they switched. And one person crossed the aisle and switched from being a conservative to a liberal to pass this budget. So the budget goes through how we're going to insanely increase the deficit. We're going to be paying the interest off of this alone for decades to come. We've kind of ruined our future with this budget alone. But this brings me to this topic here. Now, this is an interesting take that I have. This person talks about this national school food program. There's the budget that it goes over. It includes $1 billion over 5 years for a national food program. Now, we had a thing in my school growing up called the Breakfast Club. It was a place that you could go and they'd give you like cereals and a piece of toast or something like that for breakfast. Every once in a while there was pancakes. Anybody could have it. It didn't matter if you were rich or poor. People would go in there. They actually encouraged people who didn't need it to go and take it, because it would take some of the stigma away from it. And I thought that was cool, because I didn't want to go in there. I never been a breakfast guy. Don't really like eating in the morning, even as a kid. I'm not a big fan of eating in the morning for whatever reason. But every once in a while, I would go in there and grab a muffin, something like that. It was all right. But they would encourage that because the people who did need that didn't want to go into the breakfast club because it was just stigmatized as poor people would go into this place and get food. So if more people would go in there and grab a bowl of Fruit Loops, then more people would use it, and you couldn't really tell who was poor and who was just going in there because they wanted a snack. So that was pretty cool. And a lot of it was done by volunteers and donations. So there was some sort of government subsidy. I'm not going to claim that there wasn't that, but it wasn't that big. It was a lot of parents who volunteered, and they would make food and they would bring it in for students. And that is really cool because I think when we live in a better society where the government doesn't take control of things like this, that's what happens. When you have extra money, you're more inclined to help people who don't. It's just an absolute fact. It's not like every single person is Scrooge McDuck, and when you have an extra fucking $10, you put it in your pool of money and you swim in it. That's not usually what happens. When you have extra money and you see somebody that needs help, you'll usually go out of your way to help them. But when you can't afford to, you can't. And the only way to have it happen is by force, where the government takes your money, and if you don't pay them, they put you in jail with the pedophiles who will probably be out in less time, and they distribute it as they think. So there's going to be a new national school food program, which is going to cost $1 billion over 5 years. And what it does is it enhances the already existing school food programs. So there's going to be lunches and things like that for people who need it. Now, on the surface level, that seems like it's really good. But what I've heard a couple of people say, it's been a really good take. I believe a conservative member of parliament actually made this exact point, and I'll just regurgitate it in my idiot perspective, is that it shouldn't be celebrated that what's happening is that the government is forcing usually the middle class to dump more of their tax money into a school food program where I'm sure is just riddled with waste. It's just probably not the greatest food, and it's just absolutely going to waste a lot of the time. You can't tell me that none of it, every last crumb in there is being given out to the less fortunate kids of the school. No, they have to have more than what they need. Otherwise, if they don't have enough, then what's the point? All these people will come in, they're hungry, and they'll go, sorry, we only have 3 muffins today, so the hungriest of you can have a muffin, and the rest of you go fuck yourself. That's not what's happening. They're going to have twice as many muffins as kids in the school, and then they're going to throw out the rest of them, or, I don't know, maybe donate it if possible, but they make it very difficult to give food to the homeless directly. So there's probably going to be a lot of waste involved in these programs, and it should be really, really concerning that this is a program that needs to happen, because that means that there are so many probably lower middle class and low income families that cannot afford to feed their children in our school system. That's what this just shows you, is that we've been bled dry by the government to the point that we can't even feed our kids anymore, that we have to rely on daddy government to feed us like we're Soviet era Russia. The kids have to stand in a bread line at school in order to survive, to get through the day, so they can learn probably about gender studies and how Christopher Columbus was a racist or something. But like, they're not going to take in any of that information if they're hungry, and that's all we want, is for them to know that gender is a spectrum, and you can get titties if you're a boy, and you can cut your breasts off if you're a girl. That's the core values that we need to be teaching our kids, but they're not going to learn that if they're hungry. So what we need to do is we need to fund the school more, the poor infrastructure that is our school system, and give them money for food for poor kids. That should be more of a glaring issue than anything else. How about we let people keep more of their money, and then they'll be able to feed their kids? these people can't feed their children, and they're just hoping that the school will figure it out. When has that ever been a good system? When the kids who learned sex ed just from school were the most fucked up kids. I hate it when parents just go, "How well the school will figure it out. I don't need to teach my kids anything because the school's going to do it." It's like, "Oh, I don't need to talk to my kids about sex. The school's going to do it. I don't need to feed my kid. The school's going to do it." Stop relying on the government. But we've made it to a point where that's all we can do. We have to rely on the government because they've taken the money. All they're doing is taking the money from you and giving it back to you in trickles through terrible run systems that are just ripe with corruption and waste. That's terrible. I'm telling you, if you just let these people keep $15 more a week, you'd be able to buy some ham sandwiches. Do you know how many times I went to school with just a bowl of rice? And not on shame on my parents, that's kind of what I wanted to eat because I have some sort of autism. But like, I just had buttered rice. And do you know how much a box of instant rice cost, especially back in 2001? Before the towers fell? Before Epstein commissioned a photo of George Bush? It was like $3. They could buy a week's worth of rice for me for $3. And my mom would get up before school and she would boil a pot of rice and she would put it in a thermos and send me off to school. And I was happy. I was happy at lunch scooping buttered rice. No soy sauce, nothing. Just butter, rice, and salt and pepper. Also by my choice. We probably had soy sauce, but I just didn't want it. It's just insane that the way that if we just let people keep more of their money, most of these problems would be solved. But that's not how the government sees themselves. The government sees themselves as an agency of fixing your problems by stealing your money and then poorly fixing the problem that they caused. They see a problem that they caused and they go, "Okay, well, let's solve that by taking more of your money, and then we'll redistribute to you through a terrible system." How does that make sense? It makes just about as much sense as punishing people for hate symbols more so than pedophilia. That's the backwards, upside-down society we live in. And speaking of upside-down, backwards societies, Canada is so poor and so broke that we have a shortage of employees in our border enforcement or border security department. So what's happening is we are taking in an insane amount of refugees in Canada. That's just there's some sort of system where you can claim refugee and then you're on your way into the country. So what this member of parliament, Mark Webber, is claiming is that they have such a deficit of people that they can't afford to look into everybody who's doing that. And that what I would hear is, okay, so that means we're going to stop taking some asylum and seekers and refugees, because how can we take them in if we can't security check them? We can't go through the regular process. We'll have to do it at a lower rate because we can't afford to keep people employed to do it. The government is so poor that we cannot afford to look into these people. So we have to slow it down. No. Obviously, that would be racist or something. So what does Mark Webber say we do? Here we go.
In essence, to speed things up, because we are short-staffed, we're allowing people into the country without first doing that security screening.
Okay, hold on a second here. So you're saying that a refugee claimant coming to Canada goes to a machine and says, "I want to be a refugee in Canada," hits a button, and they're in the country? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not a machine, it's an application. So the one-touch system, they're given instructions on how to use that. That connects directly with IRCC, and they're given that documentation to complete on their own once they're in the country. We're not doing that.
So basically, they take out their phone, theoretically, and they tap it a few times, and they are now in the country as a refugee accepted by our country.
Yes, we get some basic data from them, and again, we do the biometrics. Beyond that, they're doing that on their own, yes. So in essence,
There you go. That's so basically a person goes, it's the equivalent of that thing at the TSA where it says, "Are you a terrorist?" and you click no. It's that. It's basically the equivalent of that. They go on their phone and they say, "Are you a terrorist?" No. Do you have child porn on your phone? No. Do you, are you coming as a refugee? Yes. What's the problem in your country? Really bad. And then boom, you're into the country. Welcome in. It takes some of our tax dollars. Here's a hotel for you to stay in, and you're getting supplementary income from the government. How is that possible? How can that be the system that we've created, where it's just the honor system? We're having the honor system for refugees, and we're putting that out publicly, where now anybody who can come in there. I don't know if anybody knows this, that some of the people that were not George Bush, the people who were blamed for doing 9/11, officially, they came through Canada. They got some of their passports and they funneled their way through Canada because our immigration system has been broken for a very, very long time. It's insane, the ease and the ways that you can manipulate the system to just come through. Now you can just click a few buttons on your phone and walk into the country. How is that not seen as a negative to the country when we can't afford to feed our children? What is going on? How can this possibly be reality? That you can stand up in the government and you can go, "Oh, yeah, well, that's how it works. Yeah, that's what we do here. We just let them in, basically." I don't know. They'll probably tell us if they're a bad guy. If they're gaming the system, they'll probably tell us. People don't, if they're gaming the system, they're not going to tell you. That would defeat the purpose. If they wanted to come here illegally or not by the criteria that's listed on their phone, they'll be coached by somebody. Just say, "No, you click yes to this, you click no to this," and then boom, you're in. That's it. And you get a fingerprint. Okay, so we know who they are, but not really anything about them. We know that guy came in through the cell phone app. He swiped right on Canada, and then he was like, "All right, you're in." I don't know. I feel defeated. I feel like we're lost as a society. I don't know what's happening. Our taxpayer money is going to supplementary food for children by taking money away from their parents and giving it back to them through a terrible food system in the school. And we'll take their tax money away. We'll approve a budget that would increase our sales tax to somewhere around 20% if we're looking to pay off any of the interest on our 1.7 trillion. It's somewhere around that, maybe $1.9 trillion worth of debt. We'll be paying billions of dollars in interest. And how do we pay that back? We just increase the sales tax. So a lot of people don't know this. In Canada, the tax is 13-14%. That's on everything you buy. That's like California levels of taxes. Most people, when you go to America or even Alberta out west, it's like 5 to maybe 10% sales tax. Here it's 13 to 14%. They're going to increase it. It's going to make its way to 20% if we want to even just pay off the interest, not our debt, not anything like that, just to pay for dumb systems like this thing, which has been popping up in different places. These are, what do they call them? I don't know the exact term for them, but it's a vending machine for needles and drug use supplies. It'll give you tinfoil and straws and needles and different. It's like PPE for fentanyl addicts. It doesn't make any sense, and you can use it for free. You can go here and you can go and take stuff out of the vending machine. And I don't know if you've looked closely at this. What they had to do was put a box, like a bulletproof box around the vending machine, because guess what happens when you put out a vending machine that has just stuff that drug addicts need inside of it? They kick through the glass and they take it all. How can we live as a society if this is what we're funding? If we're funding the way to solve the needle epidemic in our parks is by putting needle disposal units in the park and hoping that the addicts will just use that instead of dumping those. I have a very sad story. One time, before that they started implementing this, because it's still a terrible idea. In the park near my house, where my nephews would play, where a lot of the kids in the neighborhood would play, there's just needles everywhere. It was disgusting. Just used needles, no caps on them. They're just sticking out in the park. And there was this little foresty area right beside the park. It was just like a bush, basically. Like, picture you're playing Fortnite and you needed to hide in a bush. Basically that. And it was just covered in needles. And what happened was some guy went down there and he wrote this long, sad note. And he stuck it to the tree in there that all the addicts were shooting up next to. And it said, "Hello, I'm a former addict, and I know that you will be using in the parks, and I, too, was somebody who would do this, but kids play in this park. We need to be better, and we need to dispose of our used drug-laced needles. That's all you have to do." And he brought it upon himself to get one of those sharp disposal bins and put it into that drug den. And he put it there, and what happened was they started using it. They started putting their needles in there. But as things go, he doesn't come back. He doesn't regularly empty this bucket. So what starts to happen is the needles start to overflow the bucket, and they start getting strewn about in the entire area, and then it expands, and then we're back to where we started. So he started out with a good idea, and it did kind of work. He left a long note there, and people felt bad, and they put their needles in there. But then eventually, the needles overtook the bucket, and the bucket started overflowing, and then needles were everywhere again. So it's not going to stop it. Adding more things here is like we shouldn't be encouraging this. It's like giving a suicidal person a gun. Why would you want to put bullets in their chamber? If they already are addicted, we shouldn't make it easier for them to get drugs. We should make it harder for them to get drugs, because that is at a certain point you might go, it's not fucking worth it. It's too hard for me to get drugs, so I'm going to stop. It's just a waste of time. I don't want to do it. I can't find needles. I'm gonna get hepatitis. I'm gonna get AIDS. Maybe this will make a few people turn it around. All this does is make it way easier. And if you were on the fence about shooting up, you'd go, oh well, there's like a little dispensary over there where I can go grab everything I need, and I got a free ride here. All I need to do is just get somebody who wants to give me some drugs. And I'm telling you, it's pretty easy. I had a guy once come up to me and said, did you want a sample of hard? And I was like, I don't know what that means. Actually, funny enough, my dad sent him to me because my dad didn't understand what he meant, and he knew the guy was trying to sell drugs, and he thought that I wanted to buy weed from him. So he sent him over to me while I was working construction with him. He sent him over to me, and the guy comes over to me and goes, yo, do you want some hard? And I was like, what? He was like, do you want some hard? I'm like, I don't know what that is. And he pulls out a little baggie of crack, and he says, first one's free. He's going to give me a sample of crack for free. It's honestly a great business model, because if I tried it and I had one of these free dispensaries where I could get everything I needed to smoke crack, there's a free crack pipe in there for me to smoke, I'm going to be hooked, because it seems like crack's a hell of a time. Because I've seen people do crack. They seem like they love it for like 5 minutes, and then they just want more crack. So, I don't know. It seems like we're falling apart as a society. I don't know how to feel about this. All I know for certain is that Bill Clinton was probably sucked off by Donald Trump. Thank you, everybody. Yes, this has been the dumbest podcast that you could possibly listen to for your political information. This is an idiot talking about idiots. It is Politiocracy.